Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome. Welcome to our uh, sixth virtual health fair webinar presentation. We bring you greetings from the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated Hope Health Ministry. Our convention president is none other than Dr. Jerry Young. Dr. Alvin Love is the chair of Federal Faith-Based Development Initiative. And Dr. Michael Miner is the National Director of the H.O.P.E HHS Partnership. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We're excited today to be talking about caring for the caregiver, particularly in the wake of COVID-19. Caring for the caregiver. And that is a mouthful just in and of itself, because we know our caregivers take many different shape, forms, and fashions, as they say. And the people that they care for are various types of people. There are different types of situations, but in spite of all of that, there's some nurturing that's got to be done for the caregiver, some caring that's got to be done for that person. So again, this is a part of our 16th annual um, health fair. This year, because of COVID, we were forced to do a webinar series, and I'll say the same thing I've said on each one of our presentations this month, that I am enjoying the webinars much more than I probably would have enjoyed standing at a table during the health fair. Now that's fun and there's a lot of interaction, but I'm talking about in the sense of being able to really relay information, to really get feedback from people in the chat, and to have deeper conversations. So we're just thankful that we have this technology, thankful that the leadership of our Hope uh, initiative, the leadership of the Federal Faith-Based Development Initiative, and of course, the leadership of our national convention gave us an opportunity to do this. We're going to go right into it this morning. Caring for the caregiver. We are so blessed to have with us a number of panelists who are going to share with us their expertise, and we're just going to have a little bit of an informal dialogue this morning about caring for caregivers in the wake of COVID-19. I want to first introduce everyone that we have with us this morning. I'll start with Sister Nettie Johnson, who's a member of our Hope team. Those of you who follow us consistently know that Sister Nettie is an active member of our team, and I'm going to spotlight her so you all can see her smiling face. She's going to help us with what I call some of the production this morning, some of the behind the scenes, so that Dr. Miner and I can make sure that we are walking and chewing gum at the same time. And if we're not walking and chewing gum appropriately, she's going to give us thumbs up and all kinds of visuals and notes in the chat so that we'll know what we need to do. But Nettie Johnson, again, hails from our team Louisiana, which is one of our strongest teams within our Hope ministry. She is a wife of Will, a mother of Jabari and Etana. I hope I'm saying your baby's name right, because I mispronounce it all the time. But most importantly, she is a child of God. Nettie's bio describes her as a sturdy girl. And I'll say that I've had professionals help me with my bio over the years. And whatever professional helped her with that, if they didn't say anything else correct, they said that correctly, because she is sturdy. She's energetic. She teaches us on the Hope team about physical fitness, and she teaches those of us who are interested in faith-based wellness initiatives to become sturdy like she is. Some of the things she enjoys are cooking, exercising, and she says midday naps. Praise God. When I grow up, I'm going to be like her. But professionally, Nettie is an author. She's a podcaster. She's a certified health coach and a degree and credentialed health educator. So she brings a wealth of knowledge to us today. Again, her primary role is going to be a little bit of the production, but we certainly want to hear something from Nettie about caring for the caregiver, because I think her expertise in the area of wellness and healthy eating is going to be instrumental in this particular webinar. So welcome, welcome, Nettie. Glad to have you. We also have with us Miss Sheila Davis, and Sheila is with the Family Resource Center of North Mississippi. And and let me go back. I forgot to mention that Nettie is a member of New Hope Church, Dr. Leo Cyrus in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, one of our strongest supporters in the National Baptist. So I apologize for leaving that out, Nettie. Now, Miss Sheila, welcome. Glad to have you. Again, Sheila is with the Family Resource Center of North Mississippi. It is located in Tupelo, Mississippi, but they have a reach that covers a large part of the state of Mississippi. She's the program director for that organization. Ms. Sheila attended Mississippi Valley University and received her BS degree in criminal justice, furthered her education with American Intercontinental University, earning a master's degree in education. In 2018, she received a master's degree in social work from Walden University. She is a certified family life educator, certified national trainer of trainers for active parenting, cooperative, and divorce, and 24/7 dads. And I'll let her tell us what some of those organizations do in relation to caring for the caregiver. She's a trainer for Smart Start, an ACT Raising Safe Kids program. Additionally, she's a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority, Mayor's Health Council. I could go on and on and on. This lady is versed in things that relate to community outreach and health, the health and well-being of our community, starting with our children, because we know we got to raise up a generation that is healthy in mind, body, and spirit. So thank you for being with us this morning, Ms. Sheila. We also have with us, who is not on camera this morning, but they are with us. They'll be with us verbally. We have Miss Carrie Kennedy and Mr. Johnny Harris. They are the co-owners of Heart to Heart Personal Care Assistance Agency, which is headquartered in Horn Lake, Mississippi, but they cover much of the state of the northern part of the state of Mississippi. Miss Carrie has 30 plus years in care assistance, working with families who need assistance for their caregivers, or families who don't necessarily have a caregiver in the home. This Horn Lake market is a new market for her, but again, she has worked all over the country in the area of caregiving. She's a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. Of course, she's an entrepreneur because she started this new adventure in Horn Lake. Her passion, though, is for the elderly and the disabled. And I think this is why Miss Carrie is going to be an excellent panelist for us today, because she sees both sides of it. She sees the perspective of the person who needs the care, because that's who her agency performs services for. But then on the flip side of it, she understands the needs of the caregiver. Her current entity works through the Mississippi Department of Medicare and Medicaid Elderly and Disabled Department. We also have Mr. Johnny Harris, who's the co-owner of that agency. Mr. Harris is, he says he's retired, but we don't believe he's retired because he has thrown himself wholeheartedly into helping with this caregiving entity. Prior to joining Heart to Heart Personal Care Agency, he spent 29 years with the state of Illinois Department of Transportation, the last 5 of which he was with the Chicago Emergency Traffic Division, which dealt with traffic control in Chicago, community relations, dealing with that area as well. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to our panelists. So glad to have you today. Good morning to everyone who is watching via YouTube and via Facebook. We will give you an opportunity to ask questions in the chat. Sister Nettie is going to help us make sure that we cover all your questions and comments. So if you want to ask something while our panelists are speaking or while Dr. Miner and I are talking, please let us know. All righty, let's just move into this. Let's talk a little bit about COVID first. COVID COVID-19, as we know, as we've established, even without these webinars, we all already know that COVID-19 impacts all of us. The collateral damage of the virus, even those of us who have not been personally touched by it in our immediate families, we're still feeling the fallout or the collateral damage of it. It impacts our minds, again, regardless of whether we've actually had it or had a family member with it. Our news media is saturated with it. Our churches spend a tremendous amount of time talking about COVID in terms of trying to protect parishioners while they are outside of the church, and then trying to come up with viable ways to still have worship virtually, and of course making plans to one day go back into the physical house of worship. So it affects our minds, it affects our bodies, our spirits. Even the strongest person, I think, would say that some of this has shaken them. It has affected our society. You would think a pandemic would make us a kinder and gentler nation. Unfortunately, that did not happen. It impacts us financially. For some, COVID has brought about financial blessings because of the additional funds from unemployment, because of the stimulus checks. In the career world, it has helped some folks because they're able to work from home and spend more time being caregivers. Then on the flip side of that, for those essential workers who cannot work from home, their caregiving duties have potentially gotten more difficult because they've had to find someone who they trust, who is COVID negative, to come into their safe space and care for their loved ones in their homes, or find facilities that they can take either their children or their senior citizens to, and still feel that those people are receiving the care that they need. So the stress that we all feel because of COVID-19 has a greater impact on individuals who are caregivers because they do have to deal with all of those aspects of making sure that whoever is helping them is following protocols and is doing the right thing. We want to put up a poll real quickly and find out how many people in our viewing audience are caregivers. So we're gonna bring the poll up. All right, are you a caregiver? So there's a question, and everyone should see that on their screen in a moment, and you can continue to reply to that poll as we talk. Let's define who caregivers are. Caregivers are individuals who have to be caring. In the faith community, we would like to think that everyone has that characteristic, but we know that that's not necessarily the case. And that's why sometimes we need some help from other people. But broadly defined, a caregiver refers to normally a family member, a partner, a neighbor, or a friend who has a significant relationship with and or provides assistance for an older individual or an adult with health issues. I want to take that a step further and talk about caregivers who may not have a person with a health issue in their home, but they just may be the nurturer in their family. And oftentimes we know, because just the way women are built, to borrow from Sister Nettie's bio about being sturdy. Most of us women are built to be somewhat sturdy, and that's God's design for that, for us to be the caregiver in our households, the nurturers in our households. And oftentimes, not only in the nuclear family are we the nurturer, but even in our extended family, we find ourselves being the nurturer. So I want to talk a little bit about caring for the caregiver, whether they are the person who actually cares for the sick person, or the one who just serves as nurturer for their family. Talk about some of the things that they do. We know that they are the ones who care for, again, the sick person, but that includes things like meal preparation, and we're pulling up a slide here. Meal preparation. It could consist of bathing, dressing, transportation, shopping, housework, emotional support. Caregivers right now have to provide a tremendous amount of emotional support for whether they're caring for an older adult or whether they're caring for a child, because the issues that you run into include issues of isolation if it's an older person, fear issues if it's a child, because they don't understand why they have to wear a mask. They may not understand why they can't run and hug and jump up on grandmama's lap like they used to. People may need emotional support simply because they may be trapped in the house with someone who may not be as kind to them as the caregiver. They are on lockdown with the abusers, whether it's mental or physical, or even some individuals suffer from economic abuse and neglect. So those are just a few of the things that caregivers deal with. We've already talked about how COVID-19 has changed caregivers' work a little bit. So in light of that, I want to talk about caregiver burnout. And I'm going to go to Sister Nettie and have her talk a little bit about some of the things that we can do to care for the caregiver to help address those burnout issues. And there's Sister Nettie.
Thank you so much, Sister Minor. So, well, regarding burnout, as you mentioned, when we're in a caregiving role, it is extremely taxing. It could possibly be taxing physically. It definitely is taxing mentally, emotionally. And one of the things that we have to remember to avoid burnout is that we have to have moments of refresh. I often say this time and time again, one of the areas that I work with a lot is helping people with self-care strategies. And it is very hard to pour from an empty cup. So when you are caregiving, you are pouring in, you're taking care of other people. And we have to remember to always to take that time to take care of ourselves. I think paramount, of course, is prayer. It is our connection to God, it's this connection to strength, it is our connection to wisdom. Praying not only for what's going to happen for the day, but for the strength and the ability to continue to be able to be that sturdy person that we are in the relationship. But then a couple of other things is to take some moments to actually put in some elements of self-care to refresh yourself so that you don't burn out. I would say the first thing is to really kind of take a look at your nutrition, to make sure that we are to the best of possible eating well. When we feed our bodies well, when we give our bodies what they need, fresh fruits and vegetables, trying to stay away from a lot of salt, sugar, and fat, very highly processed foods, those things actually can drain us physically. So when we're giving our body the actual physical nutrition that can help us with burnout, drinking a lot of water is going to be important. I think taking breaks, even if it's just 5 minutes, if you cannot leave the location, if you have to be in the home with that person and you can't leave, but if it's just taking a moment to just stop, to take deep breaths, to breathe, to have a book or something that you find that is going to be not stimulating, but refreshing for you, but to actually take time to breathe and center and refresh yourself. And if that means putting it on a calendar, if that means setting your watch to do this periodically, to just give yourself the refreshment, physical, mental, spiritual refreshment that you need. It doesn't mean that you have to go off and take full days. Those things are helpful as well. But to have those consistent reminders that you have to feed and refuel yourself. There are many devices, like for those that have Fitbits or some devices that can give you little triggers to say, get up and walk. Give yourself some triggers to just take those moments to recenter yourself. And one thing that I think that is really important that we have to remember is that is not, it is essential. Sometimes when we take these moments to just step away, these moments to take a breath, the time to fuel ourselves, to get in some exercise, we can feel guilty when we have so many people that are pulling on us. But self-care, it isn't selfish, it's essential. Again, we have to make sure that we are well if we are going to take care and help the wellness of others. And so hopefully between prayer, meditation, eating well, lots of water, deep breathing, those kinds of exercises, those are some things that can help us in the moment when we're caring for others in a home type situation.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. That is excellent. As you were speaking, I was taking a deep breath, like you just said. That is something that we all need to do. I want to move to Miss Sheila because I know that her organization deals with children and the resources that they need. And we know that oftentimes there are children with special needs, um, parents who lack the resources to provide for those needs. And that is often an issue for the caregiver. So, Miss Sheila, anything you want to share on that?
That is so correct. In this time right now, it's very overwhelming. It's very frustrating for a lot of parents who are the caregivers, many right now during this time period, since they are out of work. And if you have children or grandchildren in the home and they are very busy, I have two grandbabies in my house this week. I have one visiting and I have one that live with me. And one of the things that I can suggest for parents or grandparents to do in this time is to, like you say, take that deep breath, practice patience, because kids are going to be kids, and also finding activities that require to be outside, or you can do things in the house. We're doing more reading. We're doing more reading out loud. We are doing a lot of crafts in our house right now about a lot of little things that we used to do, pots and pan and cooking cakes, cooking tea biscuits, having tea parties, things that will engage your children. But the most of all is to teach your children also about social distancing, wearing their mask. We talked about being hugs and kisses, and when they see their friends out in the community, which we hadn't seen in a long time, how to play safe. But nothing else but just good old fashioned running outside. We had a potato race this weekend, a spoon and a potato. Imagine how much fun it is for kids and also for adults, because we all need to exercise and to get outside and to be healthy and still remain at a good distance from each other. But I think right now, what the most of all for parents who are caregivers, remember that you don't have to do it all by yourself. You don't have to do it all in one day. Make your a great routine, your laundry, your cooking, plan your meals. Plan to get those vegetables, fruits, and slide them into your children. Disguise them in a fun way that they would eat them. Be creative with time on TV, because we can sit and too much and watch TV, or just make sure that we are doing that in modular sectors. I like watching cooking shows. My 7-year-old grandbaby loved watching cooking shows. So trying to find something new and engaging. I'm also a caregiver for my mother who's 90. So finding those opportunities right now, COVID has given us some opportunities, and I won't say it's all bad. We talk when we think about COVID, we think of all the negative things, but I think all the positive things that COVID has brought into our lives is more time with our families, more time that we can spend talking, turn that TV off more times, like you said, refreshing that connection and engagement that we have with our children and families. And just make sure that you are using all the things that we would use if we didn't have the technology. And technology is good, don't get me wrong with that. But we can get so overwhelmed with technology and so caught up in that that's all we do. But we want to make sure that we are talking, having conversation. And I think myself, I would never thought about using Zoom as much as I do now. But Zoom is a great way to stay connected to family that you can't see and family that you can't get close to due to situations if they're elderly or fragile and vulnerable adults. But we can use Zoom to do a lot of creative things. And like I said, again, as parents, we have to be creative. And then I'll give us opportunity also to learn how to listen to our children and taking that time to take that breath and get up early and take that break and take that breath, because kids are going to be kids. And if you have teens in the home, learn to be more engaging with your teens, stay connected, because a lot of our teens are depressed. They can't see their friends, school, a lot of them miss graduation and prom and all those things, that all those milestones of the memories. But learn to make new memories. Learn how to make new memories that will lasting, that you can make and that you can be just as good as if you was there at the actual graduation. So we got to remember some of those things are important things for our children. So we have to make sure that we find fun ways to make sure that we impress those things to be memory long lasting for our children to remember.
Wonderful. I love it. And I love the fact that you talked about how you personally are a caregiver for a grandchild, well, two grandchildren right now, and also an elderly mother. And I think many women as nurturers find ourselves in that situation. We are sandwiched between two generations that are years apart, and we have to deal with them in different ways. As caregivers, we have to remember, even though we know if the Lord blesses us to live to get old, we will come into a second childhood of sorts. But as caregivers, we can't treat that person like a child. We've got to remember to separate the way that we care for the grandchildren or the younger children. Some of us have young children in the home. We want to make sure that we're not transferring the way that we care for the child to a senior, or transferring the way that we care for a senior to a child, because they are two distinct populations. And I love the way you say you had a potato race. That is something that both generations would enjoy. And the caregiver gets a chance to breathe. I heard both you and Sister Nettie say, breathe. I heard you say make memories, and that is so key if we're caregivers, particularly for those that are elderly or very sick. We need to make memories with those individuals, particularly during a season like COVID. This is a time that we can take advantage of the opportunity to do that. So thank you. Thank you. We want to move to Miss Carrie Kennedy and Mr. Johnny Harris. I believe their perspective on caregiving is going to be slightly different because they deal with caregiving from a professional standpoint. We want to talk a little bit about some of the services that people may be able to get anywhere across the country, not just in their footprint where their agency is, but general services that folks may need if they're caring for a senior. We're going to have them join by voice. I'm going to unmute Miss Carrie. Miss Carrie, will you unmute yourself also? We're going to give Miss Carrie a moment to unmute her phone. I'm going to try to unmute her again. We're going to move on. Okay, she's unmuted. Miss Kennedy, go right ahead. Okay. We're going to give her a moment to. Miss Carrie, can you say something for us? Mr. Harris. I think they're having some technical difficulties. We're going to move on and look at a little bit about what caregiver burnout looks like. We've talked about some remedies for it, but let's talk about what it looks like to make sure that we can identify caregiver burnout. Individuals who individuals who no longer find pleasure in things that they once enjoyed. If a caregiver hears friends and family expressing concerns about their well-being more than they used to express those concerns, they may be seeing some issues or some problems with that individual. Perhaps getting negative feedback at work, even though we are sturdy, Sister Nettie, and we are all about the Gloria Gaynor song, I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar, because most caregivers are women. We still sometimes carry over what's at home into the workplace. So if we find that we're getting negative feedback from our employer, it probably has nothing to do with our actual ability to do our job. If we're caught up in caregiving, it may just simply be that we're tired, we're burned out. Perhaps problems within the home, marital issues, intense or recurring feelings of anger, sadness, fear, worry, perhaps even resentment. We don't ever want a caregiver to resent the person they care for, whether it is their children, whether it is their spouse, or whether it is an elderly parent. Another sign of caregiver burnout is difficulty with concentration, having trouble sleeping, or drastic changes in weight. And then finally, if caregivers find themselves using a substance to help them cope with the discomfort that they're feeling, those are signs of burnout. So we've talked about some remedies here from both of our panelists. Someone has mentioned in our chat in regards to self-care that they're running out of ideas. And I think that is just human. That is very, very human. So in terms of running out of ideas, and well, actually, I'm reading it wrong. She was responding to Sister Nettie's question of what is a specific challenge that caregivers face. And the response was running out of ideas. I think I'm understanding the question and the response correctly now. That is a challenge. We do run out of things to do sometimes. So I think those are the moments where we just stop and breathe. And as believers, that's where we have to ask the Lord to give us some insight and open the eyes of our enlightenment about what it is that we need to do to be better caregivers and not become the patient ourselves. I think we've all seen occurrences in our own families or in our church families where oftentimes the person who needs the care outlives the caregiver. That's simply because they're burned out. Or oftentimes we see that the patient or the person who needs the care may transition or be placed into a facility. Or if it is a child that we're caring for, they may grow out of that phase. Perhaps it's an ADHD issue or something like that, or even some of the different syndromes that children are now diagnosed with. Oftentimes they're able to get enough help and enough remediation that they get better. So what happens is that person finds themselves with nothing to do. So what we need to do as caregivers is make sure that we still have a life of our own, that we're not consumed by caregiving. We want to have an identity outside of being somebody's mom, somebody's wife, somebody's daughter who takes care of them. And I hope that answered the question. Sister Nettie, go ahead.
Yeah, and that was very helpful, Sister Minor. And I think that sometimes also when it relates to self-care, we can get caught in a box. So Sister Blanche, I totally understand what you're saying, that sometimes you kind of just run out of ideas. We may think of self-care as getting a massage or going to get a pedicure or going to get a manicure, getting our hair done. Sometimes there are things that maybe are not as accessible as we're still practicing social distancing, depending upon where you are in the nation. We're in different phases of coming back to connecting with other people. Self-care can literally just be things that you enjoy. So to your point, which is totally understandable, that sometimes you can run out of ideas of some of the things that we used to do when we had more time or when things are different are not available. Just sit and make a list of things that you enjoy doing. Whether it falls into what people typically think of self-care or not, that doesn't matter, because it's going to be different for different people. And then just take that moment to kind of see how you can make that happen in the current situation that you're in. Let me just give you one quick example. One of my favorite self-care things is massage. And here in Louisiana, that is just not, it's not an option at this particular point. And even if it was, I don't think that I would go and get a massage and have somebody breathing on me for an hour. That just doesn't seem to be a safe thing at this point of COVID. What I did is I actually Googled and looked up how you can do self-massage. And I've actually done videos on the past where you can take something as simple as a softball, a can that is cold, to put a can in the refrigerator. You can put the can and put it on the floor and rub your foot on it. That gives you a really good like foot massage. Or put the ball against the back of your chair and just rub around on it, and it'll give you a back massage. I'm not going away and getting a massage, but it's a way where I can take that moment to just refresh my body and care for myself in 5-10 minutes. So if you're running out of ideas, take the limits off, just write down a list of things that you enjoy, and then see how you can make some of those elements fit in your current situation right now. And it's a way that you can kind of get past that barrier. I hope that's helpful.
Wonderful. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. I want to ask Ms. Sheila something about caregiving with children with special needs. I know that that is very challenging right now in the light of COVID.
True, and I will share something personal about myself. Years ago, matter of fact, it's been 30 years ago, I had a preemie at 28 weeks. And again, from a personal standpoint, I understand caregiving. Taking care of a baby on a heart monitor, oxygen for 3 years, it can be very taxing. Like Sister Nettie said, it can be very overwhelming. My theme song, and I go back to prayer, and my theme song was One Day at a Time. You got to remember that we cannot rush production of life. We cannot rush in the sense of we want everything to be better in that moment. We have to learn patience, and I think sometimes that's why my patience sometimes has is really good, and not always. And we got to understand that it's okay to feel what you feel in that moment. If you feel anger, it's okay to be angry. Just knowing that not to carry your anger out on someone else. Learn how to deal with it. Push that pause button. Take that time to self-reflect. Because it can be very emotional, especially when you're looking at your child and you're looking at somebody else's child and comparing, well, my baby should be doing this and my child should be doing this. And if your child not, celebrate what your child can do. Celebrate the milestones that they can achieve. And when they do get to that point where they are no longer needing those equipments, or if they, in my case, my daughter did great and now is an adult and very healthy and very productive in her life. And she's a great example of what God can do in your life and has done in my life. But those children that may have long-term disabilities, just being educated about that disability, finding those support groups that you need to help you when you get to a barrier. But know that that barrier may not be out there always. And one of the things with parents, when I first came back here to Mississippi, I worked with the hospital on parents with preemies and helping parents to deal with preemies. I think the thing is having someone you can talk to, somebody who may have experienced what you're experiencing, because nobody can tell you better until they walk in those shoes. And as people within the community, having empathy and compassion for those families and for those children. But there's so many opportunities, and technology and medicine has come so far with children with disabilities. There's so many things that parents can do that used to be sitting at home with children with disabilities. Now you can go and do, and there's so many different programs. But know your resources. Know your resources within your community. Know your resources that are nationally that you can tap into. Know that there are so many different things that wasn't out there in 1989 that are now present, and just using those resources. But most of all, finding you a great support group through your church, through your school system, working with your medical doctors, and then just being an advocate for your children. Because if nothing else, you have to know what's going on with your child. Keep a record, because when you are in stress and when things are going on with your children, you don't remember all the things that may be going on with them or have gone on with them. I'll tell parents to keep a journal or a notebook from the medical perspective, as well as what they've been doing developmentally. Keep that, so when you go to the doctor or when you go somewhere and they ask you a question, you can't remember, because when you're stressed, you stress and you just can't remember well. Because when you're going through something, you're going through and nobody else can understand what you're going through. But if you have it written down somewhere, it can help you keep a better record of what's going on with your child, or whether it's a child or adult. So that way you can ask the appropriate questions that you need for your doctors, and that way you can get a clearer understanding what's going on with your child. And like I say, if you can be in the room with that doctor to whatever procedure they are doing with your child, be present. And then the best thing I can do is check your headspace. And then after all those things, when you get through with all the things with your child, learn how to meditate and just take a moment and know that you've done the best that you can do as a parent, and that your child is awesome and great. And you have to be courageous and have a lot of courage and prayer through the ordeals that your child may be going through, and then know that you're not alone, because hopefully, again, like I say, other parents may be going through the same thing. You just got to tap into the resources and find those connections within your community.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That is fabulous. Again, we want to make sure people know that caregiving is more than just talking about caring for senior adults or even other adults who have ailments. It's also very much for children. I want to go back to Sister Nettie, because she said something and has been saying something in my presence for a long time. She talked not only about self-care and little things that we can do, maybe to replace getting a massage, by doing it ourselves and all that type of thing, which is fabulous. I think I'll try that today. But I'm thinking about, I know that you are a certified health coach and you're a health educator. Are there services available in light of COVID, and you can't meet in person with people? Are there services available if someone who is a caregiver, regardless of who they're caring for, who needs someone to be a health coach, who feels the physical or mental drain?
Certainly. And one of the blessings that I think that we have in this COVID situation, and you mentioned this earlier, Sister Minor, is how this shift has brought a ton of challenges, but it's also brought some opportunities, is that we do now have a really large shift where most of what we're doing in the health coaching related area is being done virtually. So there are a lot of health coaches that are out and that are available. If you were to just go online and just Google, and you can actually get specific with it. So if you wanted to find out some things about maybe meal planning, if that's something that you wanted to have some help with. If you wanted to have some help with stress release strategies, you can even Google getting better sleep. You can put in the specific challenge that you have, and then coaching, and a plethora of individuals will come up that are offering programs. And here's the blessing part of it. Oftentimes right now, because of this situation, there's so many resources that are available for free. There are a lot of webinars and workshops and videos and things that are available on my website. And I think I posted it over on National Baptist Convention as well. When COVID first happened, I listed, COVID compliant ways that you can get some exercise in, even if you're stuck in your home. So there are tons of resources that are available, and specifically in the health coaching space, you can also get one-on-one assistance. Now, for those that do have, health insurance, a lot of times people don't realize that most health insurance agencies, particularly large companies, do have health coaches that are available as part of your benefit there. So if you have not done that, I recommend that you call your insurance company if you have insurance and ask them, are there some health coaching services available? Most companies do have them. It's part of the benefit, but it's one of those things where we have this opportunity sometimes and we're not aware of it or taking advantage. But if that is not an option, if you don't have insurance or you're looking, there are other opportunities that are available by just taking a look on the web. And if you are stuck and you don't have anyone, definitely leave a note in the comments on the National Baptist Convention. I can actually help with some resource connections for you because there are a lot of virtual opportunities that are available.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I'd love it, Sister Nettie, if you'd put in the chat your web address.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll say the National Baptist website, which will have these resources, is www.hopenbc.com. And if you'll add that one as well. For Mississippians, Sister Sheila, if you will add your site to the chat, we would appreciate that. And I'm going to go back to Sister Carrie and see if we can hear what she and Brother Harris would like to share about services that are available when a caregiver needs some help. All right. I'm so sorry we could not hear Sister Kennedy, but I'm going to try to share in her stead a little bit about agencies that help the caregiver. There are a number of entities that are designed to assist people who are caring for the elderly or the sick. And hers in particular, and I think most of the ones that have the appropriate state licensures and state accreditations, regardless of the state that you're in, just like her agency, work with the departments of Medicare and Medicaid. And what happens is there is funding available through Medicare and Medicaid. So obviously, so those who qualify oftentimes do not have to come out of pocket to pay for those caregivers to come in and help them. So caregivers, please remember, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to go outside of the family. These agencies hire people that are oftentimes heavily vetted and then licensed and bonded and certified, trained and certified to come into your home. And agencies will provide light housekeeping. They will provide personal care for the patient. They will provide respite hours. And oftentimes all that respite means is you as the primary caregiver gets a minute to breathe. You can leave the house. You can go and run errands. You can go and sit in the park. You can sit in your car and just talk to the Lord if that's what you need to do. But they get you out of the house and you can feel comfortable knowing that your loved one is in good hands. And I believe we have now Miss Carrie on the phone. We're gonna switch over to the phone. I'm gonna hold it in the microphone. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead.
How are you?
We're fine. Go.
Okay. I'm Carrie Kennedy here with Mr. Janet Harris, and we have an agency that deal with elderly and the disabled. And as far as caring for the caregiver, he or she helps individuals, whether they're relatives, friend, or neighbor, that assist them in their daily activities. Since the COVID-19, we have to do extra help and go into extra precaution to protect our employees as well as our patients. So the caregiver does everything for the clients in the home, whether it's a child or elderly, disabled, whomever needs services. We go in and we help them on that side of it as far as our agency goes. As far as the caregiver goes, we have a department that's connected with us called Respite. And respite is to give the caregiver some time for themselves. Right now, we're huggers, and we can't do that for our caregivers. But what we do is we allow them for time for themselves. They have to have time to regenerate their mind, their body, and their soul. So in essence, what we advise them to do is they need to take a moment for themselves, and then they need to take a moment and visit with Jesus. And in that will give them some comfort, time to relax, time to find out stuff about themselves. They lose themselves when they is caring for the elderly or the disabled. But, we preach Jesus. We don't spoon feed it, but we preach Jesus. A lot of times as an agency, as assistant, we have to be mother, father, son, preacher, counselor, everything to that caregiver and also to that patient. We have to let them know how much they are valued, and they are valued. They need, sometimes it's just need a good word. Sometimes it's just need a hug. Like I said, we're huggers, and that's what we do. We can't do that now, but we still share with them, and we know how they feel. We know what they go through. Usually they say, I'm okay, but they are not okay. And that is to say, why you think something is wrong with me because I'm taking care of my mom or while I'm taking care of my dad, but they are not okay. They need some time. They need a vacation. We give that. We might do 2 hours. We might do 7 days, but it's there for their needs. Because they'll get to a point where they're going to get burnt out quick, real quick. Everybody's pulling on them. They're pulling, and they don't have the energy or even the good sense to say, I need help. And that's what we go in and we do. That caregiver is always giving. It's not just hours, it's 24 hours sometimes. And to do that, they need to breathe. And when you breathe and you inhale and you exhale, and I tell my clients all the time, when you inhale some Jesus. When you exhale all of that pain out of you. And that helps. They have told me that helps. Sometimes we go in and we'll take a whole meal because a lot of times people is just eating TV dinners. But we'll take a whole meal, and we especially do it on Sunday. And we call it company's coming. But when the company show up, we have everything that they need. That caregiver can enjoy a meal without being there caring for that patient. We care for them. And they need that. It is so much. It's so much that, I've seen so much. People have been just thrown away. Some don't even have a caregiver. And then they'll call us and ask us, will we let them be, will we take care of them? They want to come into your home. And we give that. We try. And like everyone said before me, you need to exercise. You need to eat right. You need to put your plan together to take care of you. Body, mind, and soul is what we preach it. And that's what they need. And we're just here, and I agree with all of the other participants about the caregiver. They're out there. We're here. Everybody needs them. There's going to come a time when you're going to need them. And so I have been through this several times with several relatives in a whole community, and so has Mr. Harris. We are givers. We are carers. We caregiver, and we caregive to the caregiver. So basically, that's what we do. I've been on both ends of it, and I know it, and believe it or not, it's my passion. As you said, First Lady, that's my thing. That's my thing. And we're here to service. But the main thing is that this COVID has taken a toll on everybody. Some of my employees don't want to go into the home. Some of the clients don't want them into their home. But we pack up and we look like aliens going into the caregiver's home. But that's what we do. Only thing is stopping us now is our hugs. So what we do is we stand at the door and throw them kisses and keep on going. We thank you for this opportunity to talk with the whole panel and to join us. And thank you, Pastor, for allowing us to come through this phone because we didn't know how to do it.
You're welcome.
And God bless you and keep you, and you know, heaven gonna smile on you guys for doing this, and we thank you. Mr. Harris.
I also thank you, and later, Pastor Miner and First Lady. You have a nice day.
God bless you. God bless you. Thank you both. Thank you. Both of these individuals talked about not only their what they're doing as an agency, but they talked about personally their experiences as caregivers. And that's beautiful when the people that are working in it as their vocation have a vested interest in it themselves. They've done it. They know how you feel. They have some empathy for you. So I would urge anyone who's looking for a caregiver to make sure that they ask the appropriate questions when choosing that caregiver, whether it's for a child or for an older adult. It's okay to ask them, is this a Christian agency? We know that Heart to Heart Personal Care, Ms. Kennedy and Mr. Harris, is a Christian agency, but it's okay to ask. They're going to make it very plain to you that they are, and they're not proselytizing, not trying to convert anybody. They'll help anyone, whether they're Christian or not, but they also lay it out on the front end about their Christian beliefs. So it's important to even ask those questions, because you don't want the caregiver. As caregivers, we don't want to be stressed out worrying, is the person looking after my loved one a believer? We want to make sure that that's the case on the front end. All righty, we're going to move on. We're going to look at a couple of slides and we will be done for today. We're going to ask Dr. Miner, who's our co-producer with Sister Nettie, if he'll bring up a couple of really quick slides for us before we close out. And this first one is going to talk about hold on, there we go. The cost of long-term care. We've already established that women are sturdy, that we're the nurturers, but just to look at some of the statistics, the average caregiver is female. Average age is 49 years old. They care for a parent or an in-law, or as we know, a child with special needs. They provide 24-hour, 7-day-a-week care, and also work nearly 35 hours a week outside of the home. That's where those agencies come in so very handy in situations like this. And there's just some more statistics on it. 34.2 million Americans, which is 10% of the population, provide care to an adult who is age 50 plus. Our next screen, Dr. Miner. Let's look at some things that all of our panelists, Sister Davis, Sister Johnson, Sister Kennedy, and Brother Harris have all addressed these things, but I want to just hit on these 6 things one more time about COVID-19 for caregivers. Number 1, we want to ensure that the ill person or the special needs person rests, drinks plenty of fluids, and eats nutritious food. That applies to the person that's sick as well as to the caregiver. Number 2, wear a medical mask when in the same room with the person. That's protecting everybody involved. Number 3, frequently clean your hands with soap and water. You know, we're going to wash for 20 seconds, all surfaces, or use an alcohol-based rub. Number 4, caregivers, you're going to try to protect yourself. So you want to have dedicated utensils, dishes, towels, linens for that person that you're caring for. If it is a sick person or an elderly person who is in a fragile physical state. Number 5, we want to clean frequently touched surfaces that are touched by the ill person. Then if we're dealing with children or adults who may not be bedridden, but may just have health vulnerabilities, we want to clean surfaces and disinfect them daily. And I would say disinfect them several times a day. If there are children involved, we know that children are always touching things. They learn by touching. That's why we get them toys that have certain shapes to them. And children still need that, even in light of COVID. We just need to make sure that they're cleaned. And then finally, we want to make sure that we call healthcare professionals immediately if we see a change in the person, if their illness gets worse, or if we find them having difficulty breathing. Next screen, Dr. Minor. Last thing, some comforting scriptures. We know that there is always comfort in the scriptures for those who need it, and we all need some comfort, particularly in this season. Psalms 23:4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Matthew 5:4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. 2 Corinthians 1:3. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort. We know that we can go to the Lord when the agency has left the house, when the family members have left the house, when the babysitter is gone. We can go to the Lord. He's always there. Lamentations 3:32-33. Though God brings grief, he will show compassion. So great is his unfailing love, for he does not willingly bring affliction or grief to the children of men. We got to remember that God is going to take us through this. If he brings it to us, he's going to take us through it. I am so happy that we were able to share today. I want to go back to our panelists so we can bring them up again. We want to thank Sister Sheila Davis. And Sister Davis, I forgot to get your church home.
It's Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. Reverend Donnell Nickel is my pastor.
And where is that church?
That's in Verona, Mississippi.
Verona, Mississippi. Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us from the Family Service Center of North Mississippi. And am I correct that there are service centers similar to yours all over the country?
Well, we are state. We are right now, our main office is located in Tupelo, but if there's a need for someone in Mississippi, and then I did place my number there or my email, they can call and we'll be glad to. We are a resource center. So if there is a need for resources and they can't find something, they can always contact us and we can see if we can locate it and get the information back to them. But we provide educational classes such as parenting, anger management, or either conflict resolution, children mill, which is a co-parenting class, and healthy relationship and fatherhood, and classes that are through Zoom right now. So I did give the website. They can go there and complete an intake, call in to do an intake, and they can attend our classes for free. All our services are free. And we have a recovery class as well for substance abuse. So wonderful. They call in and they do the intake over the phone. We do the assessment over the phone right now due to COVID. And we can get them in class if they so choose to.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being with us. And I see someone asked about similar agencies in other states. The website has been listed. We thank Sister Nettie for posting the website for Texas. There are similar agencies across the country. It's normally going to be your area agency on aging or your senior services for seniors. For children, it's going to be a family resource center, might be in the title, just like it is in Tupelo for Sister Davis's center, or you may find it under your Department of Children's Services across the country. So different titles, but same services. Thank you so much, Sister Davis. We want to go now to Sister Kennedy and Brother Harris. We want to thank you all for coming. I'm not going to bring y'all back on the mic because we appreciate you being so diligent while you were having technology difficulties. But we do want to remind everyone that there are similar agencies to theirs across the country. And you want to remember to ask the agency, ask them if they are a Christian agency. There's nothing wrong with asking that question. And for those in Mississippi, you know that you can contact Sister Kennedy and Brother Harris at their Horn Lake office. They cover most of North Mississippi with heart-to-heart personal care. And then finally, we want to go to Sister Nettie Johnson, who has worn so many hats today. We want to thank her. Any closing comments, Sister Nettie?
Thank you, Sister Minor, and for everyone for participating and sharing this really great information. I just want to just hit on a couple of things. We're coming into July, which is Minority Mental Health Month. And so in addition to the resources that have already been shared, it is, if you need to talk to someone, there is absolutely nothing wrong with speaking with a therapist, someone that can help you to, unpack your thoughts and to handle or give you strategies to better help manage your emotions. On the Hope NBC web page, Facebook page, there will be a ton of resources to support our mental health awareness, because that's another aspect of self-care that we want to make sure that we're taking care of when we're taking care of ourselves as we care for others. And then the last thing that I just want to say, y'all, is that sometimes it's okay just to have that good cry. Sister Minor talked about respite care, about sometimes you just need to go and sit in your car. I think that when we are the caretakers and we are the sturdy ones and we are the ones where people always come to us for help, sometimes we have to remember that it's okay to take off that Superman or Superwoman cape, that we are human. I believe that God gave us tears to get the hook on the inside, up and out. And if our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ wept when he saw Lazarus, and he knew that all would be well and he would raise him for the dead, if Jesus cried, even though he had faith and knew what would happen, we can let that out. So don't be too hard on yourself. Ask for help if you need it. If you need any assistance finding resources, please do note it in the Hope Facebook comments, and one of us will reach out and try to help you with that search if you need assistance. As you are helping others, remember to take care of yourself as well, and you don't have to do it alone. God bless you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you both ladies for being on camera. To Sister Kennedy and Brother Harris, again, thank you. I didn't mention your church homes, but Brother Harris is a member of the Hill Hernando Baptist Church. Dr. Michael O'Miner is his pastor, and Sister Kennedy is a member of New Hickory Hill Baptist Church in Memphis, Tennessee. Pastor Antonio Jones is her pastor. As we get ready to close, I want to again acknowledge our leadership of the National Baptist Convention. Dr. Jerry Young is our president. Dr. Alvin Love is the chair of Federal Faith-Based Development Initiatives for our convention. And our co-producer this morning, Dr. Michael Miner, is our national director of the H.O.P.E HHS Partnership, which is the health initiative arm of our convention. I want to just share real quickly as a final closing thought, one of the initiatives that we're working on in the National Baptist, it's called the All of Us Research Program. And All of Us looks at illnesses and conditions and problems that plague us in terms of our health. And they're working with the National Institutes of Health to try to eliminate some of those issues and problems that we have by using precision medicine. And what we mean by precision medicine is treating everyone individually. For example, most of us on this call, if we didn't have our glasses on today, we own a pair of glasses, and they're prescription glasses. But Sister Davis and I can't share glasses, even though we live in similar parts of the country. We're African American women. We are in the same age range, I believe, I think, just from appearance, but we still don't wear the same prescription. Our eye doctor had to give us something special. So what precision medicine does is they want to do that for every health condition, particularly those that plague us as minorities. Oftentimes, those of us who are caregivers are dealing with people that suffer from diabetes, people that suffer from heart conditions, people that suffer from cancer, from Alzheimer's, from a plethora of other illnesses. And the disparities that we see in our communities can oftentimes be prevented. Not saying that we won't always need caregivers. We're always going to need some caregivers, but we need to try to look at eliminating or reducing some of the disparities. So what they want to do is they want to get 1 million people across the country to offer some of their medical information, their health information records, so that researchers and providers can work to find things that are going to help us stay healthy, help future generations get healthier. Sister Nettie Johnson is posting the website for all of us in the chat. If you'll take some time and look at that, I think you will be pleased by what you see. And we implore you to please join all of us. It may not help us to get rid of our current diabetes or heart disease or whatever we're suffering from right now, but our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren will prayerfully live in a healthier world because of this. So remember, www.joinallofus.org/together. We are all in this together. We all want to be healthier, mind, body, and spirit. We're going to close now with prayer. Dr. Miner is going to give us our closing prayer. Again, we thank all of our participants that were participating on Zoom. We thank everyone that is viewing us via Facebook or YouTube. We thank our participants for giving us their time and their expertise and sharing their own testimonies and their own stories. We have been helped. We have been enlightened. Those of you who are viewing this on Facebook, if you didn't catch everything, go back and watch it again. It's just like a good movie. You'll find something new the next time you watch it. Say, oh, I didn't hear that. Let me try that. So again, we thank you. We thank you. We appreciate you. This is the last of this set of virtual webinars for our H.O.P.E 16th annual virtual health fair webinar series. We're going to give it to Dr. Miner now.
Again, thank everyone for joining us. I want to just give a shout out and just much love to our chieftain, our president, Dr. Jerry Young, for allowing us this opportunity to serve in this virtual way. We thank all of our team members for all of our webinars that we had since from the 1st of June up until now. We want you to know that we're continuing this series. We will have a schedule. Go to hopenbc.com and you'll find the schedule. We will have bi-monthly webinars on physical fitness, on healthy eating, on mental health. We'll also be conducting health ambassador training. As we've also indicated on our Facebook feed and also here on our Zoom, that if you're interested in becoming part of an NBC caregiver support ministry, let us know. We'll be more than happy to facilitate this happening. We want you to remember what our motto is for this COVID-19 pandemic. We want to make sure that everybody remembers what we need to do. Pray, don't panic, take precautions. It's not over. So now if we all will take a moment now, we want to be able to, again, we thank the National Institutes of Health and all of us research program for being such a vital and important sponsor. If you have not enrolled and become part of it, as I have and others, we ask you to do that today. All right, let us pray. Lord God, we thank you for just being God all by yourself. We thank you, Lord, for this webinar today, just seeing the comments from all the people. The lady who said she just finished being a 9-year caregiver for her mother and father. Those that are on the panel who've been caregivers, those that are participants. Lord, we ask you to touch right now in the name of Jesus. Some, Lord, that they weren't expecting this. It came all of a sudden, but you're giving them the strength just to make it through. We ask you to bless them individually and bless them collectively. And then, Lord, as those of us who are around the caregivers, give us enough sense to know that more than every now and then, they need us to give them a helping hand. Lord, we ask you to continue to bless our National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated, and bless our leaders, our president, Dr. Jerry Young, and the cabinet, and all our state convention president, our pastors, and throughout the region as we go through this COVID-19 pandemic. Continue to bless our nation and our national leaders as well. And Lord, we have a special blessing upon our H.O.P.E team. And Lord, we give it all back to you now and call it done. We ask this all and claim it done in your son, Jesus' name. Amen. We're going to ask our Zoom crew, those that are participating by Zoom, to hold on for a few minutes. We'll have a brief wind down. And now we're going to end our broadcast